Hello. Hi, Julia. Hello, hello.
Hello, Laura. It's great to see you.
It's very nice to see you too. So let's start. It is the 21st of July, and I am Laura Maria Calderone, and this is 14 Days to Change. And with us, we have Julia Fedotova, Russian journalist, all the way from Moscow. Julia, this is the 25th story in this series. Lucky number 25, I called you. And I told you this on our first interview because this is actually our second interview you and I have. Because the first one was on the 7th of July, exactly 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, we spoke about how the situation was in Moscow, but in Russia in general with the pandemic. And we got to know you a little bit better. And we discussed many different topics. I would like to show you a video of some of the things I recorded, some of the things we spoke about. So I'm going to show you that. But before we do that, I would like to just mention the numbers. So how many cases there were and how many deaths there were on the 7th of July and how many deaths and cases there are now in Russia. Just so we keep in mind while we watch our conversation of 2 weeks ago. So in Russia, today, 21st, let's start with the 7th of July, sorry. In Russia, 2 weeks ago, there were 694,230 cases, so almost 700,000 cases. And there were almost 10,500 deaths. So to be exact, 10,494 deaths. Today, 14 days later, according to this database, the Worldometer database, there are 783,328 cases. And deaths, unfortunately, they have also increased. There are now 12,580 deaths. This is how 2 weeks has changed according to the numbers that we know right now. Julia, I'm going to ask you to go on mute. And I'm going to show you the video. Let me know if everything's fine. And then we'll talk about what has changed and what the situation is right now. So right now, you should be able to see, I'm sharing my screen. So you should be able to see a video. Sorry. Live. Okay, now you should be seeing your video. I'm making it big. And Julia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for the lucky number. Yes, I'm Julia Fedotova. I live in Russia and I'm Russian. Here in Moscow, it's around 8:30 in the evening now. And I wanted to start with presenting myself and talking about my name. So you call me Julia, that's completely right. But sometimes I go by Julia when I'm in Russia. It's my real name here, Julia. And as I was born in Moscow, but when I was a kid, we moved with my family. My father was a journalist, and we moved to Malta. And in school, they called me Julia or even sometimes Juliana. I love Juliana, but that's not, it's so good. It's, and it's very romantic and it's very untypical for Russian, but nobody calls me here Juliana because it's like a fake name. So I go by all those three names. But when I'm a journalist also, and when I write my articles, I sign as Julia Fedotova. So we'll use that name. And talking about my profession, I work for um, Russia's magazines, quite famous and one of the oldest magazine, and for a famous independent newspaper. So I'm a journalist who writes in print still, but also online. And I cover social and cultural affairs and something like from oil trade to international affairs to businesses and some economies and something like that, but also the uh, the cultural stuff and lifestyle.
So
So
quite a
quite
big
vast.
range.
Yes, yes, I can talk about lots of stuff. Yes, no problem. And as I mentioned, I come from family of journalists, but please see no nepotism in that. I became a journalist because it was my dream, and it's more of the way you're being raised. You know, when your father is a journalist, your mother is a journalist, your grandfather is a journalist, and this like every morning and evening you have meals with your family and you talk about news and you're discussing everything. So it was the only right way for me. And when I think in high school, I was pretty sure that I have to be a journalist.
So you knew
So
what you
the
wanted.
job, really always, yes. And I think I'm fourth or fifth generation of journalists, but my brother is an IT specialist actually. So he's the one who broke the tradition.
He's the black sheep of the family.
Yeah, but we're fine with that.
So we still like you.
Yes,
The
sure.
for my mom also is a journalist. She's retired now. She hasn't been working for a long time, but she was a journalist, and yeah, she loved it. But I, unlike you, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do too many things. I think that's the problem. But journalism, I think nowadays is something that we need. We need good journalism. So
It's important. It's
it's
very important.
important.
Yes.
It's important. It's important to communicate, and especially now, right? The pandemic. Um, I'd like to know more about what is happening right now in the present in Russia. So, what is it that people are talking about? What is it that's on the news? What's happening right now in your country, especially because by coincidence that we're speaking today, the 7th of July, it was very recent that India surpassed Russia with the numbers of cases, right? Russia has been the third one in the world. Of course, we have the United States, we know, with over 3 million right now. We have Brazil, we know, with over 1.6 million. And now it is now no longer Russia, it is India. Is this a topic that you're speaking about in Russia, that people are talking about? And what else are they talking about?
You know, surprisingly, that's a great question actually. And surprisingly, uh, yes, I think I have news for you. And the thing is that no one is talking about coronavirus anymore for like a week. So something happened. Actually, I know the trigger. It might be the trigger, but perhaps not. We'll discuss it a bit later. I'll tell you about that. We'll talk about that. But it's like it never happened. You know, if you go to a park, you go shopping, you go everywhere, and people, they don't wear masks anymore. They're very relaxed, and they're not discussing that there even was a problem. I mean, they don't see it now. They're very relaxed, and all the laws are relaxed now. So we have no quarantine, nothing like that. Even the social distance, if you go to any sport club or supermarket, well, I think on the doors you can see the sign like 1.5 meters, something like that. It's just like 1.5 and the red circle. You know, that's it. No explanation, nothing. And a lot of people there just ignore it. So we came it's like from hell to from hell to well, I can say, you know. So like a month or 2 months before, earlier, we were scared, and people, they didn't know what was going on actually, because they were turning the for some and waiting for some advice from the government. But the government, it was, well, we were surprised by the government, because our president, he was postponing some decisions, and our mayor, he was more proactive. And that's not the way that things are done in Russia and in Russian politics, you know. So, and people, they wanted to trust the official information, so they were seeking that information. And they were not sure. And there were some brave people, well, perhaps not brave, but those people who were ignoring, yeah, I wouldn't call them braves. Those people who were ignoring the situation in the world, and they were saying it will pass. It's just a flu, nothing more. And those people who got scared and who got very protective of their families and people who they love, and they said, yes, we have to stay at home, we have to wear masks, we have to use the sanitizers. So the society, Russian people, Russian citizens were divided. I can say it's like 50-50. It was like that. And then a week ago, there was this vote that we had, the voting. We had to vote for the new constitution.
Yeah.
And the statistics, actually, I have the statistics here I wanted to show you. It was declining. So the graph, you see, it's looking good. So it's declining. And then people, they said, okay, perhaps it was nothing. It was just a flu, and we don't care about it anymore. We're not going to live in with this fear anymore. So it's fine. It's like, yeah, no fear, no more fear. We're tired. And even, I'm talking to people, and as a journalist, I'm asking everybody, and I'm trying to know their opinions. And lots of people say, first of all, well, we have to work, so we can't do it anymore. We need money, we need to feed, we need to have food on the table. So we don't care if there is a virus or not. And then there is the second opinion that they say, I'm just tired, I cannot do it anymore, I'm psychologically tired, I don't want to be afraid. And then those people say, the third group that says, it was never a real thing. So there are a lot of people who call them COVID dissidents. It means those people who refuse to admit that COVID was something serious, and still is, and still happening.
Exactly. I mean, I think calling them COVID dissident is the diplomatic way of calling of what the rest of the world calls them, which is hashtag COVID idiots. That's what we see on social media. It's COVID idiots, because by not caring, by not understanding, by really not wanting to know, some people's actions hurt their community, hurt their cities, hurt their country, right? But your other categories,
Freezing.
they're not sorry, what? Is it, can you
It's good. All's good.
Your other categories, we have them everywhere, unfortunately. So it's not only Russia, they really are everywhere. You have those that never believe, those that think it's safe. I mean, even here in Germany, I think you froze again. Am I still frozen, or is it okay?
It's good now. Now it's okay.
It's the Zoom problems of the pandemic, right? In Germany, as you know, things have been relatively good in Germany, and our numbers, maybe we have a spike or two, but in general it's quite good. And in the last few days, one of the big debates is a lot of people don't want to wear masks anymore when they go to a supermarket. They don't want to social distance anymore. They say, it's fine, everything's okay, yeah, let's just go back to normal life. Fortunately, we have Chancellor Merkel and we have our health minister that say, I'm sorry, there's no back to normal right now. We need to continue social distancing. We need to continue wearing the masks when you go to a store, when you go to a supermarket, because even though things are good right now, they're okay, the virus is still here and there's still outbreaks. Germany still has a little outbreak here, a little outbreak there. But the reason it doesn't get bigger, it's because something is done about it, right? And so it's not only Russia, it's Germany.
I understand, but But I think that those proportions, you know, that we have in Russia,
Are
it's like
big.
99%. Everybody, just everyone, they're saying, no, no, we have to enjoy summer. It's so short in Russia, you know, in Moscow, it's just like 3 4 months. Come on. And you know what they say? Oh, perhaps we'll be quarantined again. So we have to enjoy all the barbecues and talking to each
That's
other, hugging
right.
and kissing. We have to enjoy it now because perhaps, you know, so we will spend some months home
But
then
that's
later.
right.
And they, I mean, they don't question themselves. Why? Because of those hugs and kisses that you are doing right now.
Exactly,
So yeah.
because we need to always remember, and the problem is communication, the problem is education, understanding. There's still too many countries, too many places that are missing that. There's too, like you're saying, there's too many people that don't understand that whatever I do today will have a consequence in 14 days. So
That's
enjoy the summer because there's going to be a quarantine in a few months. There's going to be a quarantine because you're enjoying the summer.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. They don't get it. No. Let
You already mentioned a little bit. I assume it was in your flight in January from Saudi Arabia, but
yeah.
just to know, is it that or not? Or when was it that you realized that the situation was really bad, that this was a pandemic, that it was more serious than what people were saying, than what you thought? Was it a specific moment, or was it, you know, different things? Was it in that plane after hearing in news, or when was it?
You know, actually, here in Russia, we have a gossip that the outbreak might have been earlier, and I know that it's the prerogative of WHO to explore that and to investigate. But still, there definitely was pneumonia. I'm not saying that it was COVID, but November, December, and January, lots and lots and lots of people were sick with viral and bacterial, both pneumonia. And my doctor said that please be careful because it's very difficult to treat that pneumonia now. And I wasn't sick. She just told me, she just said it, you know, because we face it just for the first time, but it's fine. You know, it's not, once again, I'm not talking about COVID. I don't know. Of course, there were no tests back then. I just don't know. And she didn't know. It's just that people were sick, but we get sick every year because once again because we don't care about each other, because we go sick to our offices, because we fly when we're sick, nobody checks the temperature, and it's nobody is mad if you cough, you know, in the shop, in the bus, in the underground, wherever. So I think that I was flying from Cairo from Egypt in January. It was like January 10th, and I was thinking about that. So there were first news, I think, perhaps for I'm not sure if there were even news, but I was thinking about this situation that so many people I know they were sick for those 2 or 3 months, and then in 2 weeks I went to Saudi Arabia and it happened with me, and I was pretty sure that. And once again, I used all the protective gear, and it still happened. So I thought, oh wow, there is no protection. So the only protection is these walls. And what I could have overreacted, but I'm happy that I'm healthy for all these months.
Yeah,
Very happy.
exactly. And
But you know, some say, and some people could say that, but you don't have the antibodies. You have to get sick because this is the pandemic. So I don't know. I
uh,
really don't know.
we
Nobody
need
knows.
to prevent, because also unfortunately there's some studies already, but we are not sure what happens if you get sick and everything's fine and you recover. Can you get sick again? Maybe not that month, not 2 months, not 3 months after, but 4 months later. Yeah, maybe there's too much that we still don't know about, and so it's better not to get sick.
Sure.
anyways, for anything. I mean, in general, it's better not to get sick. And for a virus that you don't know about, where you spoke about the vaccine earlier, you mentioned the vaccine, and that is something that everybody's hoping that for the first time, the whole world is working on it in one thing. But it takes time. It takes time to do all the necessary research and tests, that it works on animals, and then it works on humans, that it's not only safe but effective, and then there's no side effect, and once you have the perfect vaccine, it takes time to give it to the world, because it's not only about Russia, it's not only about Italy, it's the world.
And it has to be ethical, and people have to share those medical people who are working, the biologists and those people, they have to share. Actually, it would be good if they share.
And then the distribution and all of those things, they're not ready yet. It's not that there's a plan. This is how everybody's talking about it. So the different governments, the different organizations, institutions, they're working towards the plan. So a vaccine, in general, it takes 15, 18 years to make a vaccine, if you ever make a vaccine, right?
I'm not staying here for 50
no,
years.
No. That's not what I'm saying. So in general, that's the normal range, right? But
Yeah,
even
sure.
18 months, so 1 year, 2 years is what the world is aiming for. Obviously, if it comes sooner, it's better. Who knows when it's going to come? We can't think, oh, there's going to be a vaccine, so I just do whatever. No, protect other people, protect yourself. What you were saying earlier, right?
That's the most important. Yes, after we've been through with this pandemic, I think this avoiding this discrimination and caring about different people if we want to stay global, because now we do understand that it's a huge change. We are global already, and we are very social, and we cannot stay one by one for a long period of time. A lot of people suffered, even mentally, even they had stress, they've been distressed really. So we are global, and we have to care. That's the new rule. It's never going to change back. That's very important.
And it's going to be for a long time, has to be for a long time like that, unless everybody decides, forget globalization, every country stays in their little bubble, and we just say hello through Zoom. That's the alternative, very unlikely alternative, and not a good one, right? Throughout our conversation, you have already hinted here and there what your concerns and what your hopes are. But maybe you can just repeat some of them, or add some of it, add some to it. What are your hopes? What are your concerns for Russia, for Moscow, for even personally, for the next days and the next weeks? What is it that, based on what you see in Russia, that you were telling me, the sun is shining, it's a beautiful summer day, people think, there's no virus, knowing that India has surpassed the Russian numbers, knowing that, there's so many things happening in the world, and just knowing the situation of Russia, what is it that you don't want to happen? What is it that you want to happen? Just tell us a little bit about that.
More pretty much the same, that I've mentioned, that if it's not what it seems, for example, we have to talk more, and we have to explore, and we have to discuss. That's why we need this freedom of speech, because people have to express their feelings, not only journalists, not only bloggers, just all people. They shouldn't be scared to discuss. It's okay if somebody says, I don't believe you, I don't believe in the coronavirus, and it's not me who is an idiot, but you, because you've been staying home and cut all your contacts and didn't go to restaurants and wasted and lost all your money. And that's okay, because I have my arguments, and I have my history, and I'm available for this discussion. So this is very important. And I think this is mostly Russian problem that we have. We cannot speculate. Even imaginary arguments and imaginary figures can work, because now that people are just, under this impression that the weather is so nice and the barbecue is so tasty, and nothing ever happened and nothing ever is going to. I think that can be a mistake. It's more about talking. It's more about feeling free to discuss.
And looking outside of your bubble, outside of Moscow, outside of Russia, outside of Asia, outside of, that side of the world, because everybody's going through the same thing. So have a look at how things are in your neighboring countries, but also in Italy that you love, or, in, I don't know, Uruguay that you don't know, or any country, Canada, India, the United States, any country. Look at what they're doing, what is working, what's not working. And like you said, it's communication. And with communication comes knowledge. And with knowledge is what defeats anything that is bad. And this virus is bad, right? So,
Yes, it is. And we have to stay together.
yeah, exactly. Last question. Now it's more about you, okay?
Yeah.
We've spoken about many things. We've spoken about the situation in Russia right now. You've told me about the measures that your government has taken in order to prevent the spread. You've told me how this has affected your life, also your work, what you had to stop doing or start doing. And we have spoken about also your hopes and your concerns for your country. But now I just want to know if you could speak to Julia, to the Julia that is going to be here in 14 days, so in 2 weeks, and you could tell her anything, anything at all, what message would you give her?
Okay, Laura, you will not support this one, but I'll stick to it. We had, as I mentioned, I was raised in Malta and it's an island. I was swimming like since forever. And those months during the lockdown, yes, I can call it the lockdown, my sport club and my live pool, it was closed. So it opened 2 weeks ago, and all this time I was hesitating, so I'm not sure, because you cannot wear a mask in the swimming pool. Some people say that the virus doesn't spread there, but no one is sure. So I started swimming today. I was waiting for this interview to start swimming, because, well, I wanted to, and everything is so nice and calm. And once again, it seems so perfect, and it seems like I have my life back, So I started swimming, and I'll tell you in 14 days, how is it? How is it going? How are people there in the sports club? And I hope that I will be very healthy still, But yeah, I know that I'm risking, but I'm willing to take. I can't say to take a chance, but once again, it seems normal. It seems right thing to do now, to just try to live your life a little bit, come out of this cave just to glaze, and then I promise I'll get back if something is not okay.
Just for the swimming. But so
Just,
does this, but if you could speak to yourself, so not tell me, but really talk to you, what would you tell her?
in 14 days?
Yeah, to the future Julia. So to the Julia that's 14 days older.
Right now, perhaps I would say uh, it's changing. Perhaps we are getting better. So uh, I won't say that it's over, but try to go out there a little bit, and try to visit your grandfather, for example. He's 81 and I love him so much. And during the lockdown, he was the one who please don't visit me, because I'm not afraid of you um, carrying this virus and bringing it to my house. I'm afraid that I can give it to you. So I would love to hug him. And once I met him, I just like we kept the distance. He said it would be 5 meters because he cares so much. And I was the one, I was at home, and he was the one, he was very active, still jogging and walking in the park and shopping and drinking wine. And he said, no, 5 meters. So I would say, okay, if you want to hug him that much, maybe now you can. Maybe it's the right time now to do those things that you missed, but like swimming, like talking to people that you love in person. And I just don't know if it's the right thing to do. So right now I'm saying, okay, go for it. Try. Why not? Go for it. But we'll see in 14 days, was it the right thing to do? Because it's what everybody does, and we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. But Julia, don't forget, I think you are forgetting, you started your story telling us what you were doing in January that nobody was doing in Russia. So you called your manicure and said, "Hey, I'm not coming." You were in the plane thinking of what was happening and saying, "Oh, there's something weird." So you were already doing things that other people were not doing. So now that people think everything's fine and nothing happened, you can also do differently.
I know. I'm just not sure now. It really seems that there is a chance.
It's
So I'll try. I'll see.
you
Well,
have to
but
do.
believe me, I'm the last one to stay at home, actually, to self-isolate, as we call it. I'm the last one here. I was the first one, and now I'm the last one.
Yeah, yeah. And we will see, like you said, we will see. We hope for the best. We always hope for the best. But we have to be cautious, and we will see what happens, right? And I will see you in 14 days.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. It was a pleasure actually discussing all those things. Thanks a lot.
It was my pleasure hearing them. So thank you very much. And I will see you in 14 days.
See you in 14 days.
So Julia, that was you 14 days ago. It's the first time I show you the video. What do you think?
Well, I sound positive, Despite all the things that are happening, I look pretty positive. I think that's what we have here, something in the air. I was talking about great summer and seeing my relatives pretty soon. I think I was anticipating all those meetings that we had to postpone for lots of months. So I see why I look so positive there. Yes, I understand that.
Yeah. And so that day when we spoke, it was your first time swimming. Did you continue swimming?
Every day, actually. And well, it's good now. Not a lot of people. We are not keeping social distance in the pool because I was wondering how it's going to work, because there can be like some just around 10 people at once in the big sports lap swimming pool, but nobody keeps counting people. But still,
So far, so good. And
still not all there, so it's good, fine. It's comfortable. It's quite comfortable, yes.
And what about your relatives and friends that you were saying you wanted to see your grandfather, and did you see him?
I did. We had a great barbecue beside the river this weekend actually, and my parents, they kept social distance, and that was strange, and it felt a bit awkward because I wanted to hug them, to kiss them, but I guess for our sake, they said, no, let's just try to do
to be as
to do it this way, just once and normal. So still, it was good to see them in person. Yes, we had the party, that barbecue, and I hope we're going to do it again with all those new rules.
So tell me, let's start from there. So two weeks ago, aside from you wanting to go swimming again, aside from you thinking, like I want to see my relatives and I want to see my friends, you told me that there's something weird in the air. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and that day specifically, you told me you saw so many people outside at cafes, sitting, drinking, eating, restaurants, and there was no social distancing, there were no masks, and there was really this feeling that it was summer like any other summer in the past, and that the pandemic had never been there. How has it changed since we last spoke? Is it still the same? Because at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned the numbers, right? And there has been almost 100,000 new cases in 2 weeks.
Moscow's Mayor Sobyanin, a couple of days ago, he claimed that 60% of the Muscovites, they now have the herd immunity. So I conducted, but speaking about this herd immunity, I saw the study that antibodies, perhaps they don't work for the long period, they could be temporary. So I wouldn't be really.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's of
We
course,
still have.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Russia, by luck or by work, has done it. So like he said, 60% of people from Moscow have had it, and so there's herd immunity. But unfortunately, so far the studies that are continuously being published, and especially in the last weeks or so, they show it's a quite opposite picture. Even in cities and countries where the virus hit really badly, where you had an epicenter, the studies that have been done have shown that barely 5% or barely 10% of that area have had it. So herd immunity, not there yet. And the other reason why herd immunity is so dangerous to just talk about it like that and not really understand the situation right now with it is, like you said, we still don't know, even if you have the antibodies, for how long they last and how strong they are, if the strength, what strength is needed, right? So far we see it's like 3-4 months around. So there's many questions, but and he said this a couple of days ago.
Yes, I think this last week, yes, just a couple of days ago.
And did he mention a study that Russia did or Moscow did, or how did he get the number?
Just in press, he mentioned that only that 60%, yes, and that we've passed some point where it was very, where the situation was bad. So now it must be more comfortable for people just knowing that they have immunity. So, but speaking about the attitude, people's attitude, I've conducted an original research, I can say, of my own. I spoke to different groups of people about the situation, and I learned their viewpoints. So just to sum up, I wanted to quote one lady. She's 41. She lives in a satellite town near Moscow. And she's saying, my neighbors, both husband and wife, they died from COVID-19 in May. It was diagnosed in the hospital, but as they both had diabetes, and I'm a nurse, and I told them to take care of the diabetes thousands of times, so I know their death could be just grave consequences to how do you say it, hypoglycemia, I guess. So the point is that she's a nurse, but she doesn't believe, even that, they have this in the death certificate, it's written that they died, both of them, from COVID. She tries to find any other reasons, and she says, no, perhaps it's because they were just sick for a lot of years. And then to sum up what I have learned from lots of people, different groups, and there were, I have to admit that despite the gathered the groups despite their political passions and economical basics, so there were different people, and I have these three main viewpoints to share with you. So first, people still don't have enough information, and the whole picture of what's going on. They speculate a lot. And that's why I quoted this lady, because she has her own points of view and her own speculation about what's going on. And each person whom I talked to and interviewed, he had his own version of what's going on. So I don't see it as a good part of informing, politics of the government, because there should be a strategy or something. We need, once again, I will say it, and I will confirm my words from the previous interview, that we need more data and we need to share more information. It shouldn't be classified. Everything that we know
No,
for now, we have to share with the people.
exactly, especially because it's really sad, because you can't lie about this. You can try and ignore it, you can try and lie, you can try and omit. So you can have people, you can have governments, you can have countries that say there's no virus in our country, we're fine, everyone had it and nothing happened, and it's not true, or it's not as bad. And you can say it for a day, you can say it for a week, you can even say it for a month. But the reality is that there will be a moment that you won't be able to say and do these things, because the reality will come and show you the suffering, and show you the disasters, and show you the deaths. And it's like you're telling me now about this nurse. Yes, it's a topic that we've spoken about from the very beginning of this pandemic, of people saying, okay, but no, look, they had diabetes, so it's the diabetes that the cause of death, not COVID-19. These are people that are trying to find something else to believe, because the reality is so simple, but it's so sad, so ugly, that it's easier to believe something else. It's nicer to believe something else. That's why with conspiracy theories, it's better to believe that this is a man-made virus that one government did in order to hurt the world or hurt another country, because that is like a movie, that is something extraordinary but believable, so it must have happened. But if you just look at the facts, at the science, at how boring it is, that it just happened by nature, humans and animals living the way they're living too closely, and not being careful enough, and it's not the first pandemic, and it went from animal to human, and unfortunately it created human to human transmission, and here we are. That sounds like boring, compared to it sounds boring, and it sounds ugly, because it means like you couldn't stop it. It means something out of your hands. Instead, a conspiracy story, there's a bad guy, and there's the heroes, and there's the movie theme, and it's difficult, and it's sad and dangerous.
like what you're saying about the movie seems like that actually, because they're just speculating, and as I said, they have different kinds of stories, and everywhere is the conspiracy, and they see everywhere that somebody needs to invent it for the economy or for some forces, some wars or something like that. So yes, people do speculate, but I insist that just because they don't have enough information.
Exactly. It's
So that's what.
yeah. And like you said, it's data, right?
Sure. And then my second point is that utterly insignificant number of citizens keep social distance and use protective gear and wash their hands still. Nothing changed there, just utterly insignificant. But what is strange, and I come to the third point, is that the majority anticipates the second wave in autumn still. So they are waiting for the worst to happen, and they're still not
And
protecting
yeah, and that
protect them. But still,
yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm just thinking it's so strange that we all have the same problems. Like, doesn't matter what country, what culture, what past your city, your country is from. We're all having the same problems because right here in Germany, I had already mentioned to you that there were people that they don't want to wear masks anymore. They say there's no point, everything is fine in Germany. Which, yes, everything is okay in Germany, but it's not fine. It's okay. It's better than other countries, but it's worse than other countries. And the virus is still here. We are lucky that we have Chancellor Merkel and we have the Minister of Health that we have, that they say, no, it's not, forget the masks, forget social distancing. Things have to stay this way because we don't want a second wave. We need to be able to maintain it because otherwise things are going to get really ugly. But it's the same thing as you're telling me in Russia, that you have people that you have other people that are anticipating, like you're saying, they're like, we know a second wave is going to come, so why should we not do things right now? We'll not do things later, but let us, go without a mask. Let us hug and visit family.
Exactly. That's just the only thing that's their preparation for the new quarantine, Not trying to stop it, but living their lives now, today, as everything is normal.
But you're actually making it worse, right? Like
That
whatever,
could be
yeah,
yes.
whatever, yeah, whatever they are thinking right now. Yes, in autumn the quarantine is going to be bad because this and that. So let's party, let's go eating, let's drink, let's hug, let's do all this. By doing all these things, it's actually going to be worse than what they're imagining.
So yes, so I guess the situation is pretty much the same that we had 2 weeks ago with that.
With that, it's a situation that more and more countries are seeing. But how does the Russian people deal with outside news? Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. South Africa. 2 weeks ago, I had an interview with a lovely young girl from South Africa. And I didn't really know much about South Africa in terms of this pandemic because it wasn't a country I was paying attention. And also because it wasn't a country whose numbers were so big. But when I spoke to her, I told her, look, Carla, I'm amazed. I didn't know you were doing so badly. I was just looking at the numbers right now, and you're actually worse than Germany. You surpassed Germany. And she told me, yes, we have slowly but fast going up. Today, 2 weeks later, the numbers, Julia, they have increased so much, that they are around you. They are, you have US, you have Brazil, you have Russia, India, and you have South Africa. South Africa has surpassed Peru. And that shows that you can think that you're okay, but the reality shows something else, right?
I see, but unfortunately, people don't pay attention, a lot of attention to what's happening in the world. We have our topics, not really, no, not with the COVID anymore. They said that they're tired of that. They have some other issues, some other topics that the TV brings them and major media outlets bring them, because as a journalist, I think it's a lot. It can be about the clickbait, you know. So at first, when the outbreak started, all the articles, everything was about COVID, and then my colleagues told me that the clickbait, they're falling. So people weren't interested. Nothing actually happened, but just in a month or two or three, it was the decline in those clickbaits. People weren't interested anymore. So I think it's pretty much about that. It can be just business, you know, business mixed with politics. So no, we don't know much now. Even last time we spoke, you and me, we spoke about Italy, and that we cared a lot here about Italy. I don't see any new numbers. I don't hear any discussions and conversations about that. So I think people are just tired and not that much interested. And again, if they're anticipating the new wave, perhaps they think, okay, we'll get to it in a month or two. Anyway, it will come for us. So just the same. Yeah, the same.
Oh,
We
it's
don't discuss it anymore. No, it's not the
but it's such a pity. It's sad. It makes me sad to hear this because we know what's gonna come. We've seen it. We're seeing it. We've been seeing it from, you know, China to Italy to the rest of Europe to Asia to Africa to, you know, the Americans. And look at the Americas. Aside from the United States, that is a tragedy.
Yes.
Look at Latin America. Latin America, like it's I don't know. I find it really sad, especially because things haven't changed. The virus is still transmittable. The virus is still bad, and we still don't know so many things about it. You know, there's more research that is showing, hey, even if you're younger, even if you have mild symptoms, we're not sure if there's a lifetime disability on your horizon. We're not sure if your sense of smell, you're going to be able to get it back. We're not sure if that scarring in your lungs is going to get better. And we're talking about people in their 30s and their 40s. That is not, it's just old people. And even that, old people, who are you to say old people? You know, that old people is okay. My neighbors are old people. My grandmother is an old person. And it depends what is old for you, right? Because if old for you is 60, then my mother is old. If old for you is 30, then I'm old.
Yes, I bet your mother doesn't think of her this way, that she's old, you know, and that she doesn't want to live anymore, that it's okay to risk your life or her life or anybody's.
Yeah, she doesn't. She hasn't left home since the 12th of March. She cannot leave home. The quarantine where she lives is very strict and things are really bad. And the reason why it's so strict is all the good things that other countries started with that have maybe money, maybe good education, maybe a good healthcare system, or maybe Bolivia, where my parents live and where my mother is from. They barely had anything. So, like Greece, because that's why Greece at the beginning did so well, because immediately they were afraid and they closed everything, and they were very serious about it, because they knew that if anything like what was happening in Italy would happen in Greece, they wouldn't be able to. They just wouldn't. No money, no healthcare system, no nothing. And Bolivia's in the same situation. Unfortunately, there's so many people that still don't believe, that still don't understand. And it comes with what you were saying earlier about data, about information, about education.
And you know, last week, Newsweek has published an article of a very important Russian official who was working, who has the investment fund, the government investment fund, and they were involved with the vaccine, with developing the vaccine. So the name of this article, I just wanted to talk about it just a bit, and then I think you will understand what's going on, because the name of the article is What Russia Got Right About the Coronavirus and What It Can Share with the World. So those officials, our officials, our government, they offer some experience, and they want to share with the world why we have good numbers now, and why the hospitals are not overburdened, and why actually we'll talk about the vaccine a bit later, so I'll stop myself here. And I wanted to say that he's saying, I'll quote again, first of all, the most important thing is quick and precise tests, and they are key to opening economy. So they claim that they invented the tests that we use here in Russia. Russian people invented, scientists, that take only 30 minutes to show whether you have COVID or you don't. And all the rest tests, all the countries in the world, they need around 2.5 hours. So that's what he's saying. That's why it's very important. He can.
I mean, it is true that you have different times, but I actually think there are some countries that now have 30 minutes or even less or around. But it is true. Some countries much longer, and you have some countries that unfortunately the results take so long. You look at again the United States, because it's a bad example right now. I'm sorry, but it is. You test today and they give you in some cities, in some states, that you test today and they give you the results in 3-6 days.
Oh, that's a lot.
So, and that's not necessarily how long it takes to do the test, right? It's just the results when I tell you if you have it or not, and that's bad. So this 30 minutes is amazing because you can wait for the results.
So he sees it as a main point. Well, there's a second point, and he says, in our trials, we discovered effective dosage of, and then he names this Afivavir, the treatment, that's the drug, the name of the drug that people use here in the hospitals. And then we're coming to the vaccine. And he says that third are vaccines, and we are very close. 3 vaccines have already shown strong results. They have been developed in Russia's Gamaleya Institute. So that's why those 3 viewpoints, he thinks that that's why the situation is calm and we shouldn't be worried here in Russia. And, you know, just today, perhaps it's a great day in the history of humanity. Perhaps it's fake news. We'll see. But a couple of hours, yeah, we'll see. I hope it's for real. A couple of hours, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that they are ready with the vaccine now. That the vaccine is ready. That the trial was good, and yes, and soon it's going to be in the market. So that sounds like great news, actually. But you're not happy, Laura. Why? You don't believe that?
No, it's not that I don't believe it. It's just, of course, I hope it is true, but I find it The reason I don't believe it, it's not that I don't, okay, maybe a little bit I don't believe. The reason I'm a little bit skeptical is a couple of reasons. The first one is we have seen in the past months studies and claims that seem too good to be true. And unfortunately, when you actually went into the details and looked at it, they were untrue. They were exaggerations or done badly or fake or mean even. So that's one thing. It does happen, it can happen. So you have to be skeptical, you have to hope, but you have to research, you have to see, right? So if the vaccine is ready, then how long was the human trial? How many people? What was the scope of the trial of the vaccine? Like, there's so many questions, right? So if you're gonna say the vaccine is ready, then say everything else, because then you shouldn't have anything to hide, right? Second thing is, you said this is a Russian scientist, right?
Yes, correct.
So if it's a Russian scientist working in Russia with the data and with the information that people like the Minister of Health, is it right? The Minister of Health that said about the herd immunity?
It was the mayor of Moscow.
The mayor, sorry, apologies, the mayor. If you are working in a country where the mayor of Moscow, which is the main city or of Russia, says 60% of the citizens there have had the virus, and so there's herd immunity, and ignores everything else that we know so far around the world, ignores the fact that we don't know for how long or how strong that immunity is, and then ignores the fact that even in the worst hit places like the north of Italy, like Sao Paulo, even the UK, the percentage is 5, less than 5 or less than 10. How is it that Moscow has 60%? And what type of study was done? What type of test was done, you know? And then the other thing is to hear that the numbers, that things are just fine, and to have an article saying this is why Russia was successful. Yes, there are some articles like that with different countries. Vietnam is a success story. South Korea is a success story. Germany is a success story. So there are success stories, and they are stories that they're being talked about right now, right? But Russia has 700,000 cases, almost 800,000 cases. That is not a success story.
Doesn't seem sure. Doesn't seem that way. It's not a success. Yes.
Especially because some other people might say, yeah, but look, we only, because yes, it's only 12,000 deaths, but that's still 12,000 people that died, 12,000 families that are suffering. So it's not only, but for the sake of our conversation, if people say, yeah, but even if we have 800,000 cases, we only have 12,000 deaths, there's no only, because we know the more cases, it leads to more hospitalization and it leads to more deaths. Look at the United States. The United States was saying the same thing. We are testing more, and that is why we have more cases. That's not true. You're testing, first of all, you're even testing less than a few days or weeks ago. And second of all, more testing does not mean more cases. You have more cases because there's more transmission going around, more community transmission, right? And they said, oh, but that's not hospitalization, that's not deaths. And then look now, you have so many states, so many cities where there's no space in the hospital, where a week ago they only had 20 or 100 deaths a day, and now they have 500 deaths. Or they had 2 deaths, and now they have 20. And you know, that number gets bigger. So that's why I'm a bit skeptical with what you're saying.
I see. I see, I see. Well, I hope that this vaccine works. And you know, I think it can be explained big number of cases and not so much about the death that uh, people are carriers. They just carry the disease. And I know people who feel just perfect and then they get the analysis done, this testing done, and they get the results and they are really shocked that they have COVID right now. So that's one of the enigmas about the virus, actually.
Those are the asymptomatic. Those are the people that by luck they don't have symptoms, but obviously they got infected and they do infect. But again, this is a new virus, so we don't know. If you have no symptoms now, what happens when you get it again? Or what happens in 1 year? Maybe then, I don't know. We don't know yet, you know? And I don't know. There's so many things we don't know. And the problem, I think the 21st century, these last years, 2020, are a bit selfish. It's the selfish years, you know? It's the years of why do I have to worry about something that's might happen or will happen in 2 months now? Let me worry about it later. Like, why think about the things of tomorrow today, right? And it's gonna hurt us.
Perhaps. I hope no. I really hope that this vaccine works, that it's not just announced to be the first in the world.
I
Well, I mean,
I hope so too. I hope so too. And if it is real and if it does work and it's good, then I hope also the distribution is good and fast, not only for Russia but for the rest. Whichever country gets it first, I hope it goes well around the world and fast, you know.
I
So
do hope.
me too. Again, we've talked a lot. We both talk a lot, and it's an interesting topic, the pandemic in general, but Russia. Is there, before I ask you my last question, is there anything else you want to tell me about how the situation has changed or what's happening right now in Russia or in Moscow?
You know, I think I've said everything. Just the same. Everything is calm.
Everything is
Everything is. It just seems good, you know.
okay.
Right
That's
now, these 2 weeks, it seems good. It seems very normal, just normal life, an ordinary summer.
ordinary summer. I hope it stays that way, really. And with that in mind, so with this ordinary summer that it looks like it is, and with your experiences in January and your concerns that we spoke about, and just your experience with the pandemic and your experience with me with this way of storytelling for 14 days to change, I'd like to know what message would you like the people that are going to watch your story, the story of Julia and the pandemic in Russia, what would you like them to know? And it doesn't matter, regardless if they're Russians or from another country, and regardless if they come from a country that is doing better than Russia or worse than Russia. If you could tell them something, what would it be?
However, I think that actually globally the world is changing and we can, you know, perhaps, okay, forget the COVID, something else can happen, and we always have to be ready for that. We have to be very flexible now, and we have to keep together. I think this is the lesson that we have to carry out of this situation that happened this year. Because I hope that the vaccine works, and I hope that everything just passes. And right now, the last cases, we're discussing the last cases in the world, not only in Russia, but still something else might come. And this is very important for us not to forget.
To be prepared and to
To be
think.
prepared, to trust each other, to learn the lesson.
So and like you said, it's together. Um, together, prepared and flexible, and yeah, it's true.
Yes. Not saying no. I don't believe, any new information. This seems very. I agree with you that we have to be skeptical on some topics where there's a lack of information, but still we have to examine everything.
Yeah.
Because when I talk to people, a lot of people say that perhaps there was never a COVID, never a new virus, or perhaps it was just a flu, we'll see, but perhaps it was just like that. But it could be a training, for something big where we have to be prepared always just to learn the lesson. This is very important.
Yeah, learn the lesson and do the research. Look not only at your city and your country, but look outside and also see if you hear something and you're reading something, is there another side to it? And if there is, then who is saying what? If it's 10 scientists that are known to be good, that they have a voice, that are saying one thing, and then you have some unknown person, maybe the unknown one is right, but look at both sides and ask and see. And also remember that sometimes the less extraordinary story, because it is boring, because it is sad, because it is scary that you can't do anything about it, it's more real than the amazing James Bond story.
True.
Right? So,
And just my last words, that I think that we have to get used to work with the data, not only journalists now, but even ordinary people, different professions and different interests. We just have to work with the data. We have to, when we see the numbers, we have to be able to think them through, to work with them, to understand them.
yeah.
Because just um, just trusting the numbers and trusting the words. Sometimes people see the numbers and something is written beside and somebody wants you to trust it. You have to hesitate, you have to learn the data, you have to work with it yourself. So this is very important with the graphs.
Exactly, learn and understand, but also be conscious that whatever data you're seeing it, usually it's because of actions taken and not taken, at least with this pandemic. So whatever number you see, no matter how bad it is or no matter how good it is, it can change. It will change. It has changed. And it really depends on our actions, if it's for good or for bad. So it's never too late. But everything can change, and be a little bit more curious, research, and be nicer, right? Be nicer and like you said, be flexible, be prepared, and think of together and us, and educate yourself and research and ask and question and speak, but also listen.
So that's why thank you very much for your project, because you're connecting the world.
I hope so. That is my hope, and that's why stories like yours, they have to be told. They have to be told so others can take inspiration and caution and something good, right?
That's true. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you
very much, Julia. And 14 days to change with Julia from Moscow. I say
Bye.
good night.
Bye. Good night. Stay safe.